powered of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.
Welcome back. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the news, Joe Biggs is at the Arizona border in order to give you a closer look as to what is actually happening there. What does it look like, both on the ground and from the air? Joe, tell us what you're seeing at the border.
It's been pretty mind-blowing, David. You know, yesterday I showed you how easy it is to clearly just walk across the border. There's nobody around. And then once you get into our country, there's wooded area that you're covered and concealed and no one can see you. And that area is like a wildlife refuge. So the only way Border Patrol, if they even see you, could even go in there is if they have what they call a suspect. They know a known suspect. That's the only way they can even go into that part of the area. So
Border Patrol is restricted from that area because it's a wildlife reserve?
Yes, that's BLM's property.
Oh, yeah, BLM. I remember those guys.
Yeah.
They have desert tortoises.
I think you've met them before.
Right?
Yeah, the BLM is maybe quarter of a mile away from us right over here. So, yeah, those are your buddies.
Yeah, those guys will shoot you if you get in their area. That's what they say anyway. So.
Well, except for the illegals. Apparently they have safe passage.
That's right.
Well, yeah, Glenn Spencer took us up in his single-engine Cessna today, and we got some really amazing aerial footage of the state of our border. He told me I would see stuff that I just wouldn't believe, and he surely was right. The things that we saw, like right here behind me, looks like a pretty good fence, you know, but once we got down 30 miles or so like that, the fence stops. Then you get into a mountain range. You go over the mountain, and for 45 minutes we flew, and I did not see one Border Patrol agent parked along the border at all whatsoever. And the fence is waist high to knee high. There's no barbed wire. It's just some metal sitting there, and you can just step right over it, and you're home free. Because in that area, there's nothing. They have no camera set up. There's nothing. And what was funny, what Glenn Spencer pointed out, is you'll see blue flags on the Mexican side along the border through here. And what they do is the supporters for the people trying to come over, they're water holes. Someone comes in daily and puts water in there so they can fill their canteen. So when they come over the border, they have water, you know, to last them throughout their journey until they get a ride and then say yes that they're American citizen and they're home free. Wow,
that's amazing. Now, as I was pointing out earlier, though, we didn't have this problem before, and Border Patrol agents have pointed this out. It's the incentives that are pulling people in, and of course in their country, it's the drug gangs, MS-13, the Zetas, that are essentially driving them out, and of course we're fueling both sides of that. We're pushing them in with the war on drugs, and then we're pulling them in with new incentives that we never had before, because for decades the border has been in that state or even less patrolled or less fenced than it is now, and yet now we have these policies that are pulling people in for the welfare state, the entitlement programs.
Well, Glenn Spencer has the technology he has invented. This guy is a genius. We've spent the past 2 days with him so far, and he knows his stuff. He is probably the leading expert on this border situation because he's been following it for 22 years. He took this technology that he came up with. We're about to get a demonstration here in about the next hour. But he took this technology to Washington, and everyone loved it. There were people from other countries who loved it. They wanted to use it to protect wildlife refugees in Africa where people go and hunt the elephants and try to kill them. So they can censor. He has these seismic readers that go on the ground and can detect people walking around. And what it does, it sets off an alarm. A drone flies up out of the ground. It flies and searches that area. Once it gets somebody, it pinpoints them, follows them, and it gives them live footage back to the base camp. Then the drone goes back to its spot and flies. No one controls the drone. It's all automated. What happened was he just went down to McAllen, Texas, and talked to the Border Patrol. Once they saw that, they loved it. And when they went and told their superiors that we need that this technology will secure our border, the government shut down the contract, and they will not speak to him now.
Well,
so them talking about how they want to secure the border is complete and total BS, because I'm telling you right now, I've seen almost $80 million of fence today put up, and there's gaps in it. Strategically, they don't even try to hide it. They have lifted the gate up and put these pins with locks in them that only they have, the government has the key to, and they're left wide open. because you know what they want to say is DHS comes out on their little press conferences and they have their people come out and say, hey, we have a fence along the border. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why anybody out here is complaining about what's going on. And they do that so they can feel good, David, when they say that. They don't feel like they're lying. There is a fence out here. I'm not going to lie. There is a fence out here, but it's not secure in any way. And anybody can come across, anybody. Any people that terrorists that come into Mexico and want to come through can come through. Illegals can come through. The smugglers can come through. The smugglers, when they see a fence, they take an acetylene gas torch, cut a hole through the fence, and drive a truck. I just talked to a rancher, the next guy over that lives over here. He said 4 trucks in daylight drove across his property, went up to the main road up here, dropped off a shipment of drugs into a van. They drove off. They came back across the property, across the fence, put it back up, and welded it back together.
That's why I say they're not going to be able to stop this by force. There's no will to stop this by force. When these people come in, they know that they're coming in now. It's not like they don't know that people are coming across the border. They know perfectly well they're coming across. They even apprehend them and then give them their permisos, their notice to appear, which is then ignored. So there's no political will to do anything about it. And of course, they already know that they're coming across. We've had this war on drugs now for decades, and it's getting more and more dangerous. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people killed just in Mexico alone, and that kind of violence is now going to move its way into this country. It will be used to create an elevated police state. So I'm very concerned about trying to stop this by force when really it's a matter of policy. It's a matter of the government wanting to build the welfare entitlement state programs to create what they call clients, and that's exactly what these people are going to be. They're going to be dependents on the federal government. That's what they want.
I mean, you know, for the regular American who sits at home and they watch TV and they see, the Department of Homeland Security come out and say that we have this fence, and you actually get out here, you can just see the corruption out here, like being right here on the front lines. It literally, just, if it doesn't make you angry, I don't know what else can, because to see this wasted taxpayer dollar, that this money being spent to put up a fence so they can say that they have a fence. This whole fence is a beard, because really they keep leaving it open everywhere.
That's right. Well, of course, the prohibition programs that they have with the war on drugs are simply a beard, because we all know that they're running the drug programs. They are running the cocaine in Central and South America. They're running the heroin in Afghanistan. We've seen how the supplies have gone up after the U.S. went in and took over the area. It went up to 90% from 10% of the world's supply. So we know what's going on these various ways. I guess the question is, what do we do about it? I mean, we can see the people coming across. We can see the effects of them coming across. But it's what the people in government, at the federal government, want to see happen.
Enough people won't come out here and actually show. The ranchers that live out here, they said they've contacted the mainstream media for 10 years talking about the stuff out here. Glenn's been going around talking about how this is going to get to this point now where we're at for the past 20 years. And he's been completely right. But Fox, CNN, all of these people ignore their requests to come down here. The ranchers they have footage at nighttime of drug smuggling operations from a cartel house about a mile away right over here that we saw earlier today. It's a huge cartel house. And the Border Patrol, no one does anything. When they call the Border Patrol, they're like, yeah, we don't. It's not really for us to, to worry about, just don't worry about it, turn a blind eye, basically.
Well, of course, we had yesterday that clip of the former Border Patrol agent who said this is simply asymmetric warfare, talking about the gangs, talking about the drugs coming across the border. And of course, Joe, you and I were at the Asymmetric Warfare Center. We've seen how they're training for that. Maybe this is the incentive that they will have to create martial law in America that they've been training for so long.
And it's so scary because, in a perfect country with a government that really isn't corrupt and loves the people and really wants to be successful, sending the National Guard down to the border would work. But the people we have in Washington right now, there's no good can come from this. Rick Perry, and President Obama, they talk about how they're enemies, blah, blah, blah. But, Rick Perry used to be a Democrat. They have the meeting. He's in there chuckling with them. And then they're talking about sending the National Guard out to the border. That's not going to do anything except scare people. And then eventually they're going to try to get the people used to it. That's one step to ease it in to go into full martial law.
That's right. And of course, he says he's going to send the National Guard to the border, but I think he immediately started the call up on the National Guard. I don't think they're actually going to send anybody there for about 30 days. So it's a lot of posturing. Well, we're about out of time. Joe, tell us what you've got coming up.
All right, so what we're going to do now is go over to Glenn Spencer's ranch back over here, and he's going to give us a demonstration on the seismic technology that he's been trying to have put along the borders from Brownsville all the way over to California. This is groundbreaking technology, the best there is to secure our borders, and we're going to go over here and see what it is, film it, and we'll have a video out for you guys tomorrow about that.
Thanks, Joe. I'm anxious to see that, as well as the aerial footage that you've taken. We'll check back with you. Thanks. Well, that's it for tonight's news. Now, as you remember earlier in the show, as I read that article from the National Journal about how can journalists take back their beat, they said they'd become dependent on the government for press releases. They were afraid that they wouldn't get access if they didn't read the press releases the way the government wanted it read. And of course, we don't do that here at INFOWARS. Just as we see Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs going across the border, going places that they don't want you to see, going to press conferences and asking questions that they don't want to be asked. That's what we do here at INFOWARS. Support us with prisonplanet.tv. If you're not a subscriber, please contribute to it by becoming a subscriber. You can also pass this out. Up to 11 other people can share this simultaneously with you. They can watch the news every night along with you simultaneously, as well as have access to all of Alex Jones's documentaries. Well, that's it for tonight. Join us tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
You've experienced and heard about the benefits of Super Male Vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.